Hey, what's going on YouTube? I know it's been a while. I know I have no more hair. I don't have cancer as far as I know. I haven't actually had any brain scans yet. I got to get those done in January, but pretty sure it's just the eyeballs. So hopefully this is just a chic haircut, nothing more. But anyway, I hope you guys are all doing awesome. It's been a long time, a few months for me having had been on YouTube and doing a video, just because I've been so busy. I've been in the vision therapy program and making some progress there, so that's been great. And I'm not going to be able to watch probably the new Star Wars movie, at least not without being completely hammered in the theater, and maybe not even then. They may throw me out, or my eyes might just take a crap, regardless of that fact. But anyway. I wanted to discuss, I've been able to look a little bit more and more, on the computer, and I saw some stuff today I wanted to talk to you guys about. Stuff I've mentioned before about, Zen 2 CPUs coming to the AM4 platform. I did a longer video. I'm sure a lot of the subs probably, came from that one video about, AMD and Intel and their future CPUs in 2018, kind of the fabrication processes and where those were headed, and my expectations in terms of core and thread count based on previously confirmed information from AMD. And what I saw today was some, rumored, and I'm sure they are probably fake slides that I saw, on one of my favorite websites, WCCF Tech, pointing out, somebody had made up some slides regarding Zen 2 and not only their core and thread count, but also pricing information, very specific details, clock speeds, etc., that seem very outlandish. And I just wanted to go over that with you guys really quick. And again, I think that the slides that we've seen, if you go to WCCFtech.com, you can see an article there talking about, fake or leaked AMD Zen 2 slides. And, again, I do think that these are fraudulent, but I don't think they're that far off the mark. I mentioned in the Intel AMD 2018 video what I had kind of extrapolated my expectations from. And again, this is information that was previously confirmed by AMD. Their roadmap for their upcoming Starship server CPUs do show 48 cores and 96 threads. Of course, AMD is using, a modular design, glued together with Infinity Fabric. Infinity Fabric 2.0 is very likely, other enhancements, etc., to things like SenseMI, XFR, etc. So there will be other enhancements as well, architecturally, in forward design AMD CPUs. But the numbers that we saw that AMD confirmed, they actually released themselves, said, hey, these Starship server CPUs are going to have a maximum of 48 cores, 96 threads, which is a boost over the current EPYC CPUs, which have a 32 core max, 64 thread. Obviously, Threadripper CPUs use two of those Zeppelin dies, which are just two CCX units combined together, giving us a maximum right now of 16 cores and 32 threads on that. Then you have your mainstream Ryzen product, which is again using same Zen cores, just like everywhere else, but you've got only one quote-unquote Zeppelin. You've got two CCX units, two quad-core CCXs, tied together internally with Infinity Fabric. But really, this is kind of the bread and butter of what AMD CPUs are right now. You've got the mobile chips coming to market. You've got the desktop APUs coming to market in Raven Ridge very soon. Looking forward to those, which only contain a single CCX and that really is AMD's smallest, kind of, chip that they make. It's their smallest monolithic piece of silicon that they put together, and on that piece of silicon right now today, it contains 4 physical CPU cores, which can be hyper-threaded or simultaneous multi-threaded, which is kind of AMD's nomenclature for hyper-threading, letting idle time on a core process other threads, etc. But again, this is all stuff based off of current Zen 1 architecture technology, which maxes out at the server level with 32 cores, 64 threads, and that's based off of 4-core CCX, design. Now, again, AMD has already confirmed way back last year, we are going to have, they said to the press, they said to everyone, Starship CPUs, Q1, Q2, 2018, we expect to have these, with 48 cores, 96 threads. The only way they can do that and maintain the same modular design, which I don't see any reason they would go away from that. I do see signs of Intel moving toward that, as everyone, Intel, AMD, Samsung, TSMC, other fabrication plants, battle their way down with these smaller and smaller incremental gains in terms of the fabrication process, being able to shrink these dies, these gate sizes, etc., and working at these, almost subatomic levels of just very, very challenging in terms of physics and how our microprocessors work today. I think modularity makes a lot of sense, especially in terms of cost efficiency, etc., versus a single large monolithic piece, which inherently you're going to get more defective chips, you're going to get less chips per wafer, so the cost and the benefit of modularity really is exceptional. And I think it's AMD's initiative. They've taken that, and I think that's where everything is going. Especially moving forward here as CPUs, but also with GPUs, etc. But that's another video. But anyway, you look at that and you think, hey, the only way we can get to 48 cores, 96 threads is by having that smallest, monolithic chip from AMD going from 4 cores to 6. And, the slides that were leaked, that were fake, they have some granted pretty extravagant numbers up there in terms of clock speed, and I don't think we're going to really get down to the 7 nanometer node that AMD and Global Foundries were expecting to get to. Of course, again, they do have a wafer supply agreement with Global Foundries, have to manufacture a certain number of chips with them, but I don't even think it's going to be viable. Again, it's just a very hard battle for any of these R&D teams to get working chips, x86 CPUs, in particular the way they're designed, down to a smaller node, a smaller fabrication process. They may end up being, and it's rumored now, that they will be releasing Zen 2, Q1, maybe Q2 2018, but on a 12 nanometer node fabrication process. So with that in mind, you're going to get incremental gains in efficiency. We should see, obviously that's pretty much, I'm assuming, just a maturation process of the current 14 nanometer node. So I don't think it's going to be anything wildly new in terms of materials being used. We're really just talking about refinements, things that Intel has done with their current 14 nanometer process, the 14 nanometer plus, 14 nanometer plus process. They say they're going to have 10 nanometer CPUs by the end of the year, which I know both companies have been stamping out CPUs on 10 nanometer for Intel and 7 nanometer for Global Foundries for quite some time. That doesn't mean we're going to see them in consumer products, because they may not be worth it in terms of how many of those chips are going to be viable for sale. You know, if they're still getting tons of manufacturing defects, we just won't see those chips, and that's just the way it'll be. So we're gonna have to wait for those, you know, kind of results to come in and see where these companies wind up in terms of that die shrink. Of course, we will be getting new architectures. We will be getting, you know, new chipsets. Certainly from Intel, those guys love putting out chipsets. It's like you know, candy on Halloween for those guys, put out new chipsets. But we'll be seeing, I'm sure, AM4 Plus with the release of Zen 2. Again, likely on 12 nanometer as opposed to 7. And I don't think that the clock speeds will reach, there was rumors, you know, I saw on these fake slides today that said, you know, 5.1 gigahertz. Now that may be certainly achievable via overclocking. I don't know if we'll see that even in an XFR boost on those CPUs. But we're getting really close, guys. You know, Intel's got chips right now, I think that go up to like 4.7, something like that. Pretty high in terms of single thread, you know, gigahertz, you know, operations per second, whatever it is, you know, you want to call it. That's probably not even correct. But anyway, at least in terms of the frequency, they're getting up there pretty high, and that's on 14 nanometers. So I know that the clock speeds for Zen have been lower, but Lisa Su mentioned in one of her interviews previously, you know, Zen 1 really was, you know, kind of worst case scenario for the architecture, brand new architecture, brand new, you know, fabrication process on 14 nanometer, and if things can only get better from there in terms of frequency, in terms of efficiency, and of course, again, obviously, we're going to see gains in architecture, IPC improvements. We're going to see, you know, other gains in terms of optimization by developers, you know, that are now, you know, developing software with this architecture in mind, as opposed to a strictly, you know, Intel mentality where we optimize all our software for what's really in the marketplace. AMD's been killing it. I don't know what their current market share is in terms of consumer CPUs, but it's got to be getting up there. You know, they've been offering phenomenal value, and I really do think that this trend is going to continue, you know, through Q1, Q2 2018 with their Zen 2 based CPUs. And I do think that although those slides were fake, that the numbers they stated in terms of CPU core and thread count are going to be accurate. I think you're going to see in the mainstream, you know, AM4 Plus platforms, you're going to see Ryzen CPUs for mainstream consumers starting off with a baseline of 6 cores, non-hyper-threaded, and the R3s, you know. You're going to see R5 processors based on Zen 2 that have 6 cores, 12 threads, all the way up to, you know, 12 cores, probably not, you know, hyper-threaded enabled or SMT enabled, but you're going to see R7s certainly with, you know, 12 cores, 24 threads, you know, obviously SMT enabled, and the clock speeds, you know, the fabrication process will kind of determine that. We'll have to see kind of where that lands, but certainly they'll be able to achieve higher than 4.2 gigahertz, I think is the max you can get out of an AMD with XFR right now, like a 1950X will boost, I think, 4 cores to 4.2 gigahertz currently as the max out of the box frequency you can get on an AMD chip right now. Certainly we're going to see improvements to that clock speed and other stuff as well. So I just wanted to put a little bit of, I don't want to say fuel in the fire, but some of this stuff, it is fake, but some of the stuff is going to turn out to be real, in my opinion, and that's based off of just facts that AMD has released. They stated we're going to have these Starship CPUs, they're going to have this many cores, 48 cores, 96 threads. The only way they can possibly get there is by having a 6-core CCX module. This is not outlandish thinking. AMD has always tried to offer more cores for the money than Intel has, you know, and they are kicking ass right now with that offering because they have very, very competitive IPC. More and more applications, games, etc., are taking advantage of parallel processing and multiple CPU cores and threads available. And they've got great performance and decompression, which is awesome. It means anytime you load a game and it has to decompress textures, or you have to install a game, it has to extract files. Most things you're doing on your computer rely on decompression. Very rarely do we compress really anything. Sometimes, but a lot of the things you're doing on your computer, really AMD is really kicking butt in right now in terms of performance, especially for the money. And availability as well. Intel, their plans, I think coming up, they're going to have i3s, which are quad cores. So to think that AMD can't offer an R3 with 6 cores, I think is just, people aren't really seeing the writing on the wall. WCCF Tech is just, and I love the site, but they're just calling this, total sham. And I think that, again, the slides are fake, but the information in terms of core and thread count is going to wind up being real. We will see them on whatever fabrication process they happen to come out on, whether they use Global Foundries, whether they use TSMC as they do with their, Xbox. I don't even know if the PlayStation CPUs or APUs, are made with TSMC as well. I know the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X are actually made on TSMC's 16 nanometer process. So who knows what process they'll end up going with, and where they'll wind up in terms of node size and then frequency with the CPUs. But certainly I expect that at least part of those fake slides to come to fruition and for that to be true, and I can't wait for that. I do have some sad news. I have only been using this computer because my eyes have been so screwed up, semi-occasionally for the last year. It's been sitting in this office, and I got a 1080 Ti for God's sakes because I thought, hey, my eyes are going to get better, and I'll be able to play games. And I've had it in there for like 6 months, however long since it released, and haven't been able to really play maybe 5 hours of games in the last 6 months on this freaking thing. I've got the 1800X basically. I have a 1700, an R7 1700 in here, but it's overclocked, to be even faster really than an 1800X. So I've got a phenomenal computer back here, and really it's been going to waste. I've got these 3 monitors, and I really can't, I did that before because I did a lot of remote access, desktop assistance work, and it's great for multitasking, great machine for video editing, but I had to sell these parts, guys. The money right now going toward vision therapy, which my parents helped me out with, thank God. But just living expenses and not really having been able to work very much, always, in the doctors and going to see, the therapist, etc. And really don't know what capacity I'll be able to work in. Hoping to find out soon, hoping to get back to work as soon as possible, obviously, and pushing as hard as I can to get there. But in the meantime, next time you guys see me, you may not see 3 monitors. You may just see one large, cheap, big monitor that's easier on my eyes. I'm actually selling, I sold the 1080 Ti, I sold the R7 1700 on eBay earlier, and we're shipping those out tomorrow. So this will be the last video I get to render, in like 30 seconds. And I'm going to switch over. I wish the Raven Ridge, desktop APUs based on Zen and Vega were out. I'd love to pop one of those in here right now, but I picked up a chip for like $60, and it's the Bristol Ridge AM4 compatible, still older 28 nanometer technology with the older, Radeon cores, whatever they are in there. But I'll have one monitor. I won't be really doing a lot of gaming in here. The Xbox One X is very appealing. I think it's amazing what they've done with that. you think about 6 teraflops in one, little package. That's a hell of a lot of flops in an APU, and that's a killer looking system. If you're trying to game this holiday, don't have the money for a high-end gaming PC, 1080 Ti for God's sakes, 700, 800 bucks. You're not going to get that level of performance with an Xbox One X, but you're getting really, really close, especially seated, in a regular living room environment. It should look absolutely phenomenal for a lot of games. So, anyway, this is just a rant. Oh, one other part of a rant. If you bought a TV this Christmas and you have an Xbox One X, you bought the wrong TV. Newsflash. There is no TVs available right now that have variable refresh rate technology, HDMI 2.1 that offer FreeSync support. So any frame hitches, even on a high-end machine like that, inevitably, for God's sakes, developers are going to try and push the envelope there in terms of graphical output, fidelity, etc. And you'll see some frame dips. So there's not a TV out there right now. If you bought a 32-inch FreeSync monitor that was 4K, Xbox One X is going to look phenomenal on there. And when you have frame issues, frame pacing issues, drops in frame rate, you really shouldn't even notice them as long as they're not, too egregious. You're not going down in the 20s. But if you're playing a 60 FPS game and you're going into the 40s, even 50s, certainly you're not going to notice. You're going to have no input lag. You're going to have no screen tearing. So it should be a really good experience. You're going to have to wait, till sometime in 2018 until you get a TV that actually is ideal for an Xbox One X. If you bought an OLED TV, you lucky bastard, I envy you for one. But you got to watch out because you can get some burn-in on those. It takes a long time, but you can get some burn-in. So I wouldn't leave static images just sitting there. I would set if there's like an idle option on your Xbox where after a couple of minutes you can have it kind of fade the screen to black to prevent any screen burn-in. That's a good idea. Otherwise, those are great. Still lacking the variable refresh rate, FreeSync technology, but a great TV, probably the best out there in terms of, HDR. Those pixels can turn themselves off completely, so you have great black levels, completely black levels, and not quite as bright as an LED TV. But if you got an LED TV, if it's 4K and it says HDR compatible, and it's edge lit, you're really only getting the resolution boost. You're going to get 4K. You're going to get 8 million pixels, whatever it is, 3840 by 2160, whatever. So you're getting a lot of increase in pixels, which is great. Resolution boost is great, but you're not really going to get true HDR with an edge lit LED. They may accept the signal and tell you, say, hey, I'm happy, I'm receiving this is great, but your black levels are going to suck. If you've got an LED that has full array local dimming, like the Vizio M series or the Sony, I forget, Digital Foundry did a video a while back on the best 4K TVs for gaming, whatever. But there's a couple of manufacturers that do offer even relatively value-oriented full local array dimming LED sets. Those are much more recommended over edge lit, kind of just a one single backlight. On an LED TV, you're able to dim different parts of the screen and have brighter areas and have areas that are maintaining a lot more just deeper blacks. So you're getting better contrast. You really are getting really true HDR with those sets. So you did good if you bought one of those. You don't have to really worry about screen burn-in, and you're not going to get as inky blacks as you will on an OLED, but you're getting pretty close, and you're also getting great performance. Sometimes you get better refresh rates on those, which is important for gamers. And let's see, what else do I have to ramble about to you guys? I think that's about it. But yeah, I apologize for being off of here so long. I apologize for ranting about, the health thing over and over and over again. It's just kind of why I haven't been on here as much. And, honestly, I didn't do videos there for a while just because it was tough for me to get excited about technology that was coming out that I really couldn't use. And, having to let go of this powerful system behind me really is, it would absolutely kill me during regular circumstances if somebody was like, you got to sell your, super badass high-end PC and kind of downgrade to a lowly APU. But to be honest with you guys, again, I really only glance at this thing, for work purposes, semi-occasionally when I can work a little bit here and there, edit some documents, web browsing, downloading stuff occasionally. I use it for Plex. When my girlfriend comes over, she can watch, movies and TV shows, etc. But, I'm not going to lose any of that functionality. But it does kind of hurt, to lose the honey badger, the computer that just terrorizes anything. That combination I had before with, that's in there still right now, will be going tomorrow, really is a phenomenal package. And I think that, the future is bright. AMD and Intel working together here on upcoming mobile CPUs with integrated AMD, graphics is going to be sweet. Again, Xbox One X, phenomenal engineering, from AMD by themselves in terms of what they're delivering there in a single chip. And, great success with Zen 1, great competition right now with Intel. I think AMD still is just absolutely kicking their asses all over the place right now because of price, availability. And those two things kind of have a direct correlation. There's just not very much availability of Intel CPUs right now, at least in the desktop segment. So prices are extravagant, and the price performance is exceptional right now. And the the long-term proposition. I'm keeping this motherboard. Again, they may release an AM4. I'm sure they'll release an AM4 Plus, platform with things like PCI Express 4.0. Which I expect, honestly, to have a negligible impact. You may notice slightly faster loading times in games or something like that. But in terms of frame rates and stuff like that, I doubt it'll have any impact whatsoever. But you may get, newer. You're going to get things like newer I/O, USB 3.1. Who knows? 20 gigabytes a second. Other enhancements to the platform, etc. But an AM4 board you buy today, a B350 board you buy today, an X370 board you buy today, or have today, I'm going to be able to toss when hopefully, for God's sakes, I get this vision therapy. It takes forever, and it's so freaking hard. It's unbelievable. When I get through it, though, finally, I don't know that I'll go back to doing all this computer stuff. I don't want to regress. To talk to my doctors and see what I can do, if I can, still be an IT guy, or if I need to go out and cut lumber somewhere, or, I don't know, be a park ranger or something. But I'll always be drawn to technology, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer on that for you guys in terms of, what I'll be able to do. But, regardless, I'm always going to be drawn to technology. I love technology. I love talking about technology, and I think it's great that you guys, have followed me, and I really appreciate it. I don't even know why any of you really realistically are following me right now. The channel hasn't had a lot of content, and I just don't have the ability to do a lot of R&D and deep dive on stuff, which I would love to do a ton of videos for you guys. And if I get back to that point, and I can one day, I will. But in the meantime, I'm excited, for people, whether that's, you specifically, whether you're going to buy, a Zen 2 CPU when they come out, or a Threadripper 2.0 series CPU, or a 48 core, 96 thread, already confirmed Starship Epic, successor in the server, CPUs from AMD, or if you're going to go with the Intel stuff, Intel AMD combo stuff, whatever. You got a lot of stuff to look forward to here coming out in the very near future. And I know it's crazy because it's holidays, everyone's buying stuff. So you're thinking, what can I get today? And of course that next thing is always right around the corner. But with the AMD stuff, you're protected. You get yourself, an AM4 board today, and when that corner comes in the next couple of months, whatever it may be, they say they're going to support CPUs in that socket through 2020. So we're going to see some exceptional performance gains certainly in the next 2-3 years, and I expect that to be just awesome for people that have invested in the AMD AM4 platform. So that's my opinion on tech today. If I do not see you guys before whatever holiday it is that you celebrate, Kwanzaa, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever the case may be, I wish you all the very best. I wish you all well in your everyday lives, whatever you may be doing. And I wish you a happy holidays and a happy new year. I hope that you guys all make it to New Year's. And when you get there, I hope that the next one is the best one you ever had. So thanks for tuning in. I love seeing you guys. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys, every single one of your views. And if I don't get back to you in the comments below, again, I'm trying to kind of limit my exposure and kind of get better as soon as I can. So I apologize if I don't get back to you in the comments section. I used to love going in there and deep diving with you guys and kind of chatting. But if I'm able to, maybe I hit a thumbs up for you or something like that. But I just got to kind of limit my exposure right now in terms of screen on time. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming in, checking it out. Hope to see you soon, at least relatively speaking, in the next one. Peace out.